Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another week of VEAP. Uh, as usual, always look forward to these sessions. Today, I'm going to try to make this as engaging as possible. Now, as I said previously, my content for these courses are to ensure that you run your businesses as efficiently as possible and to ensure that you stay in business and achieve your goals over a period of time. Your ultimate goals over that period of time. All right. Today's session is going to be on logistics and operations management. And this morning I was contemplating, should I start off with logistics or should I start off with um, operations management? I think I'm going to start with logistics, get that going, get it out of the way. It's a usually pretty exciting session. I'm going to make this as engaging as possible. I'm going to pick on those businesses. Yes, Melissa, that have been doing shipping, engage in shipping products. Joanne, welcome back. We missed you over the last couple of weeks. So first off, let's sort of a show of hands. Any of the businesses who are currently shipping products, either regionally, locally, whether you're doing shipping or pickup, and internationally. Can you show your hands, please? There we go, Angela.
Sorry, can you repeat the question for me, please? Good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon. If you're shipping or doing pickups locally, regionally, and internationally, show your hands. Good. So we have 5 so far. We have 6. Okay, so keep your hands up. I'm going to start off with Vivette. She's the first. Angelique, you keep putting hands up and down.
Good afternoon, everyone. Gilbert.
Hi.
How are you? Okay, I'm gonna put my colleague Shanika Taylor under the bus a little bit because she's more integrally involved with the actual shipment.
Okay.
And putting the order together. So if
wonderful.
Okay to speak, then I think she's the better person to speak in terms of all the challenges and intricacies of that process.
Okay, let's get her up.
Okay.
Is she here?
If it's okay, I'll go and get her at her desk and let her use my microphone.
Okay, wonderful. So we just move on to Melissa in the meantime. Melissa. Good morning. How are you? Melissa? Hello? Hello?
Gilbert?
Hey.
Yeah, what's up? You're doing a sound check?
No. I was trying to talk to Melissa, but I'm not hearing her now.
Okay.
Let's have a good conversation a while ago. Okay, so let's go on to Joanne. Joe, welcome back. How was your trip?
Good morning, everybody. Yeah, it was a great trip. We went to Paris and it was all about export to Europe for chocolate.
Just chocolate?
Just for our business. It was basically a trade show in Paris with chocolate makers.
Ah. So it was successful for you. You were able to get a few new clients, sales.
We made a few contacts. Yes, it was really interesting. Yeah. We just have to work out the logistics of shipping from Belize to Europe, which is quite a major challenge.
Okay, and that's exactly what we're talking about this morning, right? Logistics. But you currently ship the other products right now? Ship to other places?
We ship a very small amount to mainly customers in America who are familiar with our products from coming to our shop, to our physical shop here in Belize, and then when they go back to America, they want to order stuff. So that's who we export to. It's a very small part of our business at the moment, and we're trying to increase that.
Could you walk us through that process? So someone places an order online for
Yes.
for your products.
Yes.
Walk me through the steps after that. How does that happen?
So someone will order through Shopify. The order will come through to via email. We then get the order. Let me think about it. We will check that we have the order, because some things we don't ship chocolate during certain months because of the heat and the weather. So, but people will, even though we say on our website that we don't ship during that time, people will still order. So we need to check that we have the product. Say, for instance, it's some cocoa powder. We would check that we have the cocoa powder. We would get back to the person, say that we have it. The payment would go through. We would check that the payment's gone through. Then we would compile the order together, pack the order, and then we would send it via the post office.
Okay. And typically, how long does that order take from Belize to your customer?
From the order we try to get the order shipped out within 2 to 3 days, and then the post office takes normal, if you do it non-priority, it's 14 days. So it takes a long time, and for chocolate, it's not ideal.
And what's the typical cost for the post office to ship there?
The cost, off the top of my head, it's about 20 US upwards. So it's not cheap. And sometimes people would order, the shipping is more expensive than the product.
All right.
So that is a major challenge for us, because we have a lot of discarded carts, because when people get to see how much the shipping is, they discard.
Okay, and I think my last question to you is, what are your plans for changing how that works for you? Do you have a plan in place? Do you have alternatives that you're looking at?
We're always looking at alternatives. FedEx and DHL don't ship chocolate from here. We've looked at trying to consolidate with other companies to ship. Again, that's hard to do. We have looked at possibly reducing our shipping costs. So we take some of the cost, so that if we're shipping things in multiples.
Okay.
And other plans, I mean, really, it's just a question of trying to find a more efficient way of doing it. But it's very much a work in progress.
Have you ever had to deal with a complaint from a customer who was not satisfied with what you shipped them?
Yes, very recently, we shipped quite a big order to a cafe in the States, and it was chocolate bars, and then some of our products like our chocolate coffee, our cocoa powder, and customs in well, we assume it was customs in America, went through, somebody stole all the chocolate bars, and the product was damaged because obviously someone had been through it. So we had to refund the whole amount, and it was quite a big, it was about $500 US.
Yeah, those are the challenges.
Yeah, and we've also
the return
had
and the refund. Yes.
Yeah, so we had to refund the full amount, and we've also had goods damaged as well, and things not arrive. And we just have to take the hit for it, basically.
Yeah, yeah. So when you think about it, it's not just the fact that you shipped off, you have to refund $500. So you're giving out $500. You've lost $500 in products right there already. So that's $1,000 within itself.
Yeah.
Right. That's massive. Plus
Yeah.
whatever shipping cost was involved and customs costs, all the additional costs involved, you have now lost. I'm sorry to hear about that, but that's the reality of shipping on the Caribbean. All right.
Yes.
Thanks, Joe. Always valuable contribution. Ida?
Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone. Sorry about that. It's Ida Williams, a Tidal company based in Palmer's Cross, Clarendon, Jamaica. Tidal has been exporting for roughly 38 years. In terms of shipments, we sell goods ex-factory to persons who buy products from overseas. They are the ones who make independent shipping arrangements, or they go through our brokers. So there's no cost relating to the company after the products are sold in terms of logistics. However, wow. I'm sorry?
I said, wow, that's amazing.
Yes, that's to avoid. Yeah, so we sell ex-factory only, unless it's someone, the company.
What does that mean? Expats?
It means that the cost of shipment, you pay for, okay, say you want one bottle of jam and you're based in Barbados, or one container load then. You pay for the products, we get the money up front, and once the goods leave the factory gate, then you're responsible for the cost of getting it to your destination. So,
but you only sell large amounts, right? Large quantities?
We sometimes do consolidated shipments with other companies. Like, for instance, if we have a customer in Grenada, they may be buying from other companies in Jamaica. So we do consolidated shipments with them. But
it's wholesale.
Pardon?
It's wholesale.
I'm not hearing.
Is it wholesale? Is it a wholesale transaction?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay,
Usually
good,
we strive to get payment 100% upfront if it's a new customer. If it's a repeat customer, someone with whom we have had a relationship for many years, then it could be part payment. But for most of a transaction, it's strictly money upfront to the US dollar account or whatever account there is before the products are shipped out. Because inevitably, say for instance, if it's a co-packing arrangement, the company has to upfront the cost of sourcing all the raw material to make the products, and the farmers have to be paid, and so do the workers. It's a family-owned business, and there is a limit to how much the company can bear in terms of upfronting costs for potential buyers. The biggest challenge I find for the company, say for example, we go to a trade show and someone wants samples that we did not have with us in the market. It costs an arm and a leg to send, because the products are in glass jars and they're heavy. So it costs a small fortune to send a package to a potential customer who may not even order a pin later on, but we've been sending shipments through FedEx, depending on the customer, or through the post office. I found that recently we participated in a trade show in London. Several persons wanted samples, and the Jamaica Post Office offer a 5-day express service, and that was almost as expensive as FedEx to send like maybe 20 products, one each. And then I asked, what's the next best service? They offer like a 14-day, which was about 75% cheaper. Of course, I chose the cheaper service. But that's the biggest challenge I have seen personally in terms of getting products out of Jamaica. And the company stayed off doing business online because we don't have a fulfillment center outside of Jamaica, and our products are available via third-party companies like, say, Carib Shopper and Amazon. On Amazon, customers have sold our products on Amazon, and the company has looked at getting products on Amazon directly, but I've not reached that stage yet. But in terms of selling from Jamaica, it realizes that the cost of sending the products so they reach the customers in a timely manner would make the products maybe less attractive, because the products are really cheap, but the shipping costs alone to get it to them, say within 3 days or so, is quite expensive.
Yeah, it's really a big challenge shipping out to the Caribbean.
Gilbert,
and go ahead.
When you're finished, I'd love to jump in on Ida here, all right?
Okay, sounds good. So one of the other things too is that even when you think now about shipping with Amazon, and they do fulfillment for you, is right at its current state, so one of your products being sold on Amazon, the commission usually sits between 15 and 18% commission. But once they start doing Amazon fulfillment for you, then you find that you either have to get into a wholesale agreement where they buy your products at close to the numbers sit between 40 and 50%, right? And if they're not buying in bulk and they're just doing fulfillment on Amazon, the numbers are still around the same place. Now the percentage goes up significantly because you are now covering the warehousing and the shipping and all of that stuff. So it's a really rock and a hard place situation. Go ahead, Leighton.
Absolutely.
Hey, Leighton?
Yeah,
Mr.
man.
Campbell?
The Ida,
Yes.
you say you're based in Palmer's Cross, right?
Yes.
You are the Maypen renowned Bami factory, ain't it?
Yes, or the cassava factory. A lot of people
Right.
don't know it's an export company, but 95% of what's made there go outside of Jamaica. The company, yeah, and a significant volume is co-packing for other exporters or companies based overseas.
Right. So I am from Clarendon originally.
Me
Right.
too.
I'm just realizing that my family is a big and consistent customer of yours.
Okay.
And they buy a lot of Bami. So you know what thing already with Jamaica.
Bami's cassava is so scarce. You don't want to even say Bami at all because cassava is now really, really scarce.
Right. But Gilbert, just to give you some context here, with Ida's company, in Jamaica, it's popular for persons to bring back fish and Bami. Foreigners, when they visit, like Christmas, summer, and so forth, you know, the diaspora persons load up on these Jamaican things and they bring it back to their foreign countries, and they distribute it among family members. So my father has like 9 or 10 brothers and sisters overseas, and when one come, they pack up. When I say pack up, I mean they pack up a whole bunch of this fish and Bami, and they go back over and they distribute it amongst themselves. Like it's like a ritual, a travel ritual, that once you go to Jamaica, you cannot come back without the fish and Bami. You understand? So
or just the Bami.
Yeah, just the Bami.
Yeah.
That's true. Just think like patty and Bami, you know, it's very consistent. with tapping into diaspora. So I remember we talked a lot about tapping into the diaspora markets. I think last week we're on that topic a lot, and a lot of questions were coming around that. And one of the things I just wanted to highlight, I was looking at your website, and one of the things that you could do is you could have your website simply accept orders, because you have your product catalog there. But if you're able to actually turn on the ability to accept orders, I could see where persons would use, they come into Jamaica, or even, for instance, people are traveling, they always tell their siblings, I'm going to Jamaica for a week, bring back this, bring back that. You understand? People could easily submit their orders, ship it to whichever locations, persons can get them to, and have their family members bring them back, because as I said, you have some challenge with logistics, but it doesn't mean there aren't innovative ways that you can leverage the tools that you have at your disposal to reach those foreign persons when they travel. You understand? So that's an opportunity that you can tap into, and this comes around pretty much right through there when persons are traveling. But we know the heavy periods are summer, Christmas, holiday periods, Easter. You understand? When the fish and bomb thing is rampant in Jamaica.
Yes, indeed.
So I just wanted to highlight that for you, because I have a direct personal experience with it.
Okay.
And I know it's a ritual for my family with the whole fish and
that's a good testimonial. Actually, we do get orders sometimes from persons in the diaspora, and they're willing to pay the shipping cost.
Yeah, man.
So in the pandemic, that kind of slowed down, but our products are available online. Carib Shopper, which came about during the pandemic through an initiative of JAMPRO.
Okay.
So a lot of Jamaican companies are on board Carib Shopper, Trinidadian companies, Barbadian companies, and they more or less cover the logistics, and they buy at the same price the international buyers buy. At least the same price. It's one price to everybody.
Right,
So it's raining heavily in Kingston right now, where I'm based. So
yeah, guys, we're having a bit of a storm here in Jamaica.
So thanks for the feedback.
Yeah, man, not a problem. I'm gonna drop my number in the chat. You can connect with me directly if you want to explore.
Okay, we'll do for sure.
Yeah, man. Cool. Gilbert, you can go. Continue.
All right, thanks, Leighton. Thanks for that. And that's one of the things I cover as we go further into this is how do you serve what we call is the local market, local and the global market in one sitting, right? And we're gonna cover that as we go forward. I like what you're doing. And for me, I can't find Bami in the United States either. Bami is so hard to find, and when you find it, the price is through the roof. And for the rest of you guys who do, Bami is so much healthier than sitting down and eating some bread. All right,
yes,
it is. The cassava product. Yeah, but it's difficult to find here right now. I have to pick up last week 2 packs, and the price scared me, but I picked them up anyway. All right, so let's go back to go ahead, Ida.
Okay, Gilbert, what I should say now Bami is scarce. I mean, cassava is scarce because the beer company use cassava in part of their production. No, they used to import. I don't remember the product from overseas. I know they buy it locally from the cassava farmers. So most of them have switched to growing that kind of cassava, which the beer company uses, and that accounts for the shortage in the local market. That most of the Bami companies, like some companies have gone into growing their own cassava. Like say Rainforest is into selling Bamis a lot lately, but the traditional farmers that we buy from are the ones in marginalized communities, say all over the bush in rural Clarendon, which it's mostly organic cassava. A lot of them have passed on to another world, and young people are not doing farming in that way. So because we try to be consistent in the type of cassava that we use, I forget Cuban something and another one, then those are really, really scarce right now. And as I said, most of the persons who normally you could get cassava from, they're growing on contract for the beer company. I don't remember what the product is called, but for about 3 or 4 years now, instead of importing that item to put in the beers or whatever, they use the local cassava. Okay.
Interesting.
Yes.
All right. Lourdes, I see you put your hand down.
Hi, good morning.
Hi, Lourdes.
I don't do shipping to customers internationally, just locally.
Correct.
Within,
That's good. That's fine. That's fine. We want to hear that story as well. Okay, that's a big
okay,
part of what I do as well.
within Belize, when our customers buy products, we either SMS or Belize parcel and mail service, and they deliver wide really.
So
And
walk me through the process. Walk us through the process of you doing those local deliveries.
okay, customer asks us buys a product, you know, and they pay us online or they deposit to our bank account. And once we have received confirmation of payment, then we deliver the product to the BPMS office. For us, they have an agent about a block and a half away from our office, which is, you know, nothing really. And it's sent COD, so the customer pays for the delivery upon picking up their package. On other, like some customers that live in the southern part may want us to send their product via one of the local airlines, and we are 1 mile away from the airport. So deliver to the local carrier, and then we take a photo of the airway bill, and again it goes COD, so we don't have to do an outlay for shipping. The customer pays for it when they go and pick up their product. It's not too difficult for us. Now, when we have deliveries to make, like in the city, we make those deliveries on our own, not using a different time.
Okay, so that's two things. One thing that really caught my attention is you said you do the shipping COD, and your customers are okay with that.
Yes.
Oh wow. Okay. I guess that's one way to avoid the shipping prices shock when you check out, right? Because now they're covering their own shipping.
Actually, the cost of the shipping, they pay when they receive it. The agent's fee for the BPMS service, that's if we use the BPMS service, which is the one that we use most of the time. There are other services like Z or so forth that would pick up when they're passing. We're lucky we're right on the highway, right where they would be passing anyway. Just pull into the driveway, and they may pick up. Again, that would be billed to the customer. But when we deliver to BPMS agent, they do have a $5 fee that we have to pay, and then depending on the size of the purchase, we make a decision whether we'll cover that, absorb it, or if we will charge the customer on their invoice. So that would be invoiced to them as a reimbursable cost to us. No?
What is your product?
We sell IT products and accessories and supplies.
Okay. How do you manage, how do you deal with returns, damages, refund, that type of stuff? Have you had to deal with any of that stuff?
No.
Oh, wow. Okay, very good. Very good. All right, thanks, Lourdes. Appreciate it.
Okay, sure.
Melissa, I'm not sure if we can actually hear you now.
Me?
Try again.
Hello?
Okay, Melissa. Yeah, now I hear you.
Okay. All right. So let's try. Okay, so I'm not doing much shipping, but just from the experience, I do both local and international shipping. I'll begin with the local. So our business is located in St. George, Grenada, the main city, the main capital city. And in St. George, Grenada, we have, well, St. George is the actual business district, and then we have Grandlands, which is another busy area, the tourist belt. So because we're located in St. George Parish, we will do our deliveries ourselves to both St. George's Town and to Grandlands. However, for the outer parishes, what we have been doing is letting the local buses, public transport, take it to the various towns. So let's say, for example, someone in St. Patrick, which is the most northern parish, wants a package. We will go to the terminal and place that package on the bus that is leaving next for St. Patrick Town, which is Sotes. And we will inform the customer that we would have placed it on the bus, and they will time the bus, which is sort of, but it worked out. The customer, we will let them know beforehand that we're doing that, and give them all the information with respect to the bus and everything. We'll pay the bus for delivery, which is only $5 EC in our currency. The equivalent is around $2 and something US, and that worked out. However, the post office, local post office, has modernized recently and are now offering some services for local delivery. So they have a service where they can actually come and pick it up at your business place and deliver to any customer, any part of the island, or to a business if you would like to deliver to a business, right? They also have a service where it is not as instant, but they can take it to another post office unit in one of the other parishes, and the customer will pick it up from that post office unit there. So that one is not as instant. So of course, the one that is a no delivery, which is instant, will be more expensive than the other one where they will deliver it to the post office unit, and then you pick it up from there. So that's the options we have for local. But of course, you know that Grenada is a tri-island state. So we also include our sister islands. So there are ferries that go out to our sister islands. We also have the option of placing it on our ferries, the package on our ferries, and they will take it at a very low, same $5 charge, depending on the size, or $10 for bigger packages, EC. Right. In terms of payment, the payment options I have on my website, you can pay with card. However, I also have payment options such as electronic banking. Also have cash on delivery as well. But if it's not cash on delivery, when we deliver ourselves, the customer, we ensure that the payment is received first, and there's confirmation of receipt of the payment before we ship out. In terms of the international, we use the post office because the FedEx and the FedEx option is way, way too expensive. We tried it, and just for a small package, it could run up to about $200 and something EC. And my products are makeup products, which are very light, very small. So I was talking about under a pound, just a few ounces. And they will tell you like it's $200 and something EC, which is maybe around 100 and something US dollars in some cases. So we explored the post office option, and we decided that that's the best option. And the post office has an express service where I think somebody from Belize said, or Jamaica, it's 20 US. So same here, it's 20 US for the express, which is the lowest. So they started that for the express, and you receive the package in about 5 days, which is not bad in terms of time. However, it would increase depending on the weight of the package. And there's another option that we use. That option is the registered meal, which is $11 EC, which is around $4 US, around that price. And that one, you're able to track it as the express. Post office is able to track it, but it just takes about a month. So if the customer don't mind waiting, if it's not urgent, then we can always use the registered option and they're able to track it. There is the regular mail, but I do not use the regular mail, the standard mail, because they do not provide a tracking number. So I stick with the registered and the express, the ones that can be tracked.
Excellent. What's a couple of questions? What's the cost for the post office, whether they're taking it directly to the person or from post office to post office?
I am not so familiar because it's a new service, right? But what I know is that they have different bag sizes and it's standard based on, it's not based on weight, it's based on the bag size. So if it is if it can fit into a small bag, I think I would want to believe it starts at 10, 10 EC. And it will go to maybe 15 and 20, depending on the bag size that it fits into, your product fits into. So if you have bulky products and it will require a large bag, then you pay more. But it does not change based on weight. So that's a good thing about that service.
Okay. The other question is, how do you deal with a disgruntled customer who wants to return a product or products get lost, stolen along the way?
But I had a case where there's this product that I sold, and this site I bought it on to resell, I copied the description and I didn't realize that they had it as a bundle. So the pictures were showing the 3 together in the bundle, and even the description spoke about what you'll be receiving. But when it came here, I removed the whole bundle option and decided to sell it as single units, right? And a customer in Texas, in Kansas, I think, ordered it. And they pay more attention in terms of reading somewhat than us here in the Caribbean. I don't know. But she looked at the photo, she looked at the description I had, which of course I just copied blindly, not reading. And it didn't match up to what she got because she got a single unit. So I had to refund her. Well, she paid by PayPal, and I just refunded her because I couldn't argue with her. Because they go down. They go down and they read the policies, your policies, on your website, your return policy. They go down and read everything, and they come armed, and so they come armed with information. So you really can't argue because they read. So now that's one advice I will give. Be very careful and with what you have in your description, product description, your policies, and also to also be very particular and be aware of it and have it at your fingertips because persons out there read.
Very good. Thanks, Melissa. Samantha, do you still wish to share? So you had your hand up for audio. Samantha Paperwork. It's not. All right. So we just had a couple of people share what their experience like with shipping. Shipping is logistics. I shouldn't just say shipping. Logistics on the whole, because when you look at logistics, it's not just the products that you ship out. It's your suppliers shipping products to you. It's your inventory and how you manage your inventory. One of the biggest, I don't know how to phrase, one of the biggest downfall of the business expenses in your business is loss of inventory due to whether it's theft, due to damages, just accountability of that image, of that inventory. That is huge. And a lot of people don't pay attention to that. I mean, we still have, I don't know if it still happens in, it probably does, right? But I remember growing up in St. Vincent, and you see stores will be closed for a couple of days for stock taking because they have no idea what they have or what is remaining, right? Stuff is still being written down on a piece of paper. Right? Today we may have Excel sheets stored in a computer, but still it is not a very good way to keep account of what is in your inventory. And as you ship that inventory out, you need to account for that. Before I start sharing my slides, I have a document that I shared with Carib Export, which should have gone out to everyone already, or you guys should have given us access to. It's a logistic and fulfillment planning document, right? And we start back from where we started with Joanne. As I said, Joanne's contribution has always been spot on. Like the way that she handles her business, I really like. Like she has a rule, what we call policies governing what she ships when. That is really important. Where she ships it, really important. So as important as it is to gain that revenue, the protection of your reputation, the protection of your product, right? To mitigate a significant amount of risk, there are policies that you put in place. All of this, like when it comes to logistics and just operations, we don't always have to look to what technology can do for us, right? We look at what the rules can do for us. Depending on the weather, to ship our truck. Because it makes no sense you shipping it in an uncontrollable temperature package going to customer A. Time he gets it, it's melted. They're having a terrible experience. They would have paid a significant amount because our product, as she said from the very beginning, it isn't cheap. And if I am buying this product that I know isn't cheap and I'm paying for that shipping for that product to come to me, or when it gets to me, it's not in the state that I expected, I am disappointed, right? And my disappointment could translate to something significantly bigger. It may mean I leave a bad review. It may mean before I have a communication, if I have a conversation with you, I reach out to my credit card company. And then that's an even bigger negative effect on your business. So I can share this. I'm going to share this document again in the chat so that you guys have it. Just going to tell you a couple of things that you need to put in place. One, shipping and logistics. Especially when you're shipping your product out to your consumers, it is not a simple process of shipping a product to someone who just bought it. My thing from the very beginning has always been you're selling experience and value. Just your package is communication. That entire shipping process is the communication between you and your consumer. It says what I think about you, and it says what I think about my product. It's not a matter of me just taking something, slipping it in a box and sending it off to you, right? So it's chocolate. How am I going to package it so that it is preserved, it is well protected? And when you receive it, because you've just paid $20 for a $15 bar of chocolate, how is it presented to you? Can I track this? Is there a message in it? Is there a follow-up email to the fact that this person just received it, right? Is there within that package a 5% discount on their next order? That 5% discount on the next order says how I feel about you and the confidence that I have in delivering this package. I didn't make the percentage discount on the next order 20%. I made it 5%. Maybe I didn't make anything at all. Maybe I just offer you a bundle package on the next one. right? It's communications from beginning to end, every aspect of that business. And you have an opportunity when it's e-commerce to keep communicating from the time they see your product, whether that's on social media, all the way to that product being delivered to them. That is a communication stream where you're allowed to express your value about your product and about your consumers. It may seem simple. It is not. It is a very difficult process, shipping from the Caribbean. But even when you're in places where shipping is accessible and shipping is easy, take advantage of the opportunity that you have been given and communicate clearly about how you feel about your product and the consumer that is buying your product. So go to the list. I'll tell you there, let me see, drop it in the chat soon. 9 items on this list, and just allow me to read through it. Establish your goals and objectives. We go back to Clayton's very first session on strategy, planning and strategy. And you're like, oh, why are we back there? Because it's important that you have a strategy for everything that you do. How does your shipping strategy align with the rest of your business strategy? Establish your goals and objectives. Before you start planning your logistics and fulfillment strategy, you need to identify your goals and objectives. Determine what you want to achieve with your logistics plan, such as improving delivery times, reducing costs, and increasing customer satisfaction. Customer satisfaction is always top. I asked Joanne about what is she looking at, the possibilities of better shipping options. Right?
Excuse me, Mr. Williams, excuse me, Mr. Williams, but we're not seeing any document on your screen.
Correct. I said, that's what I said earlier. I said, one of the things I'm going to do right now is just read this document, and then I'm going to start sharing some slides. So I promise I'll be done with it quickly. It's boring, but again, I said that in the beginning as well. My section is usually very boring, but it's the thing that keeps you in business, right? To be more efficient. So customer satisfaction is very, very important when you come up with your logistics plan. It's not a matter of, oh, somebody bought the product and I got some income. No. We want that customer when they receive your package to be satisfied. And if they're not disgruntled in as much as possible. You got to map, and I get that from everyone who spoke about what that journey, what that shipping journey has been. You have to map out the entire journey, right? If Melissa knows that she has orders that needs to go to, let's say, St. Patrick's, to go to Satier's, someplace distant in Grenada from St. George's. She knows, okay, here's a schedule of orders that I can take on my website that can be delivered to the transportation, to the buses that are going to those areas, and I can meet those times, right? So she said, map what that supply chain is like in terms of map what that delivery process is like, right? That's important. The second point here, identify your supply chain. Map your entire supply chain from raw material to final delivery. Remember, I told you, part of logistics is very, very important. It's your inventory. It's the supply that is coming to you. It's the supply that Melissa talked about, what she received. It's what your raw material, whether that is from your local farmers, whether it's cassava, whatever it is. I know when these products are going to be delivered. I know how much is going to be delivered. I know who is delivering it. I know that I have space for it, and I know what's the next step when it gets into my space. One second. Martin, I had an email from Martin this morning, and he's talking about bird-eye blueberries. And he's receiving his inventory because he's getting his stuff up and running. And it's really, really critical that there's a management process behind how he receives, behind how he stores, behind how he stocks, and account for where everything is and where it goes next. What are the next steps? Choose your shipping providers. Research and choose the best shipping providers. Again, this may seem like something very, very simple. But when you're in a space now where you have multiple shipping options, like in the instance of Melissa, where she has the post office and she has the local transportation, which one is best for her? If I'm looking for accountability, then maybe the post office. If I want to make sure that, all right, what I get paid for is what is delivered and delivered in an accountable manner. We call it a chain of custody of the products. Once it leaves our warehouse or it's leave our store's warehouse, is their chain of custody. All right, Melissa drop it off to the van delivered it to the person who is supposed to receive it. Is there a process that everybody signs off on that? Because if the customer comes back and say, well, I never received it, Grenada is small, all right? Not a whole lot of people. And when everything, Grenada is a village. So if I order something from Melissa and then the van actually delivered to me, then I say that I didn't get it. That is not a conversation that ends easily because everybody knows everybody. But when you look at a space like Jamaica, where you have 2-point-something million people, that's a very, very different thing. There has to be what you can get away in Grenada, you cannot get away in Jamaica. There has to be accountability every step of the way. Because without that accountability, it costs you. And I'm saying all that because as you begin to plan your strategies for deliveries or for logistics, you have to take these things into consideration. Where am I? What are my shipping options? What is the outcome am I looking for from this shipping option? Develop packaging strategies. Determine how you will package your products for shipping. Choose packaging material that are durable, protect your products during the transit. Also consider branding and marketing opportunities through the package, right? It's a communication opportunity. If you are a business that is into sustainable development, what type of packaging material am I using? I'm now charging because, again, as we spoke about before, whatever we do in the Caribbean should have a significant value. So if I'm selling figurines or jewelry, how do I package this thing so that it has a very, very unique impact on the customers who are receiving it? Do I use coconut fiber? It's biodegradable. They could use it for their plants after they've unpacked it from your product. Do I now wrap it in the packaging in banana leaves that are light, just like the coconut fiber? But the social message that it sends says that I care about the environment as much as I care about the product and I care about you as a consumer. What is your strategy for those things? Right? Before your products are even ready for shipping, do you have a quality control process in place to ensure, again, that the product that is now on your shelves and getting ready to ship to your consumer is the same quality across the board? Again, I look at the products like food products like Joanne's product. That quality has got to be consistent. So I'm almost certain there's a quality control process in place there. And if you're making jewelry and selling jewelry, the same thing has to be put in place. Return policy, right? Again, I listened to this story from Melissa and I had to mute my mic because I was laughing, right? It is really, really important that you put policies in place for returns. I mean, I remember last session, Leighton and I were going at this about return policies in the Caribbean. Most businesses will tell you, listen, no refund, only exchanges. But most countries, from my experience and from what I have read, have consumer protection laws in place. They're just not enforced. Right? So very often I know I walk into a store in any of the Caribbean countries and you buy a product. And even if I'm dissatisfied with that product, the likelihood of me going back to that store and telling them I want back my money and I'm going to someplace else, very unlikely. I am grumpy and disgruntled, but you know what? I'm going to live with that dissatisfaction. I probably would not go back to that store, right? Which is not a good thing either for that business. But that's typically how they function, because the laws that are in place in those countries are not enforced. But when you move into the world of e-commerce, it's different, because now your store is global. It's open up to the rest of the world. Unless you put mechanisms in place, technologies in place that says my orders are only going to be local, and you would not accept orders from overseas, then are you not accept any shipping to overseas addresses? Then yes. But you have to still put those return policies in place. Why is return policies important as well? Credit cards. If I buy a product from you and my return policies on the website are in line with my jurisdiction, if I'm in Grenada and my return policies are in line with the laws of Grenada, or Jamaica, or St. Vincent, or Barbados, or whoever it is, my return policies are 14 days, which is typical across most Caribbean countries. And if on day 20, customer returns and say, well, I did not like this product, or this product was not satisfactory, it did not meet my needs, I want to return it. And I said, no, I can offer you a refund, subtract a restocking fee, depending on what it is. And they're very disgruntled and they reach out to the credit card company. First thing the credit card company is going to say is there a policy statement on that website? Did you follow that policy statement? Are you within the confines of that policy statement? And if the customer is outside of that, then you are protected as a business. But if the customer is within the confines, right, and you still refuse that return, then what you have now are chargebacks. You do not want chargebacks to your business, meaning the bank is now forced, or the credit card company is now forced to take the money out of your account and give it back to the customer. That's a huge, huge negative. Some credit card companies or some payment gateways will actually cancel your system after 2 or 3 chargebacks. The pen and paper inventory management is very inefficient. At least get some sort of an Excel spreadsheet that you can document what's in your inventory. Right? You have some sort of a system where you can verify that, yes, an order came in from Leighton. He picked up, he ordered X amount of Bami, and they were delivered. I have a system in place where I can see Leighton order, James package, Jetro came, pick it up, and delivered it to Leighton. Leighton received it. Have some sort of a system in place. That accountability is going, if you do not have it, will come back to haunt you at some point in time. So let me start sharing the slides and going through. So first, any questions, any thoughts on what I've just read to you? Again, I'm going to share that document in the chat. Any questions? Any thoughts? No. Silence is golden. Oh, yeah, we have a hand up from someone.
Okay. So quick question. All right, within the US and first world, the shipping labels.
Wait, hold on 1 second. I can't see who's speaking. Who's this?
Moses Fennel.
Moses, blessed.
Okay, so within the first world, there's option to, when you're shipped, to have your shipping label return, do a return shipping label. So instead of doing one way, so if the customer want to return, they can return without them paying to return that shipment, because you would have already done that with the label that you sent out.
Correct.
Yes, so for the Caribbean now, it's a little bit different. How can we approach something similar to that, or how can we achieve that?
Okay, so that is a lengthier process than just sticking a label in, because as you know, the cost of shipping to a customer, if you ship it from the Caribbean to let's say internationally, country in the global north, as every one of the people who spoke before tell you, that is a cost. There's a cost, there's a significant cost to doing that. So you ship it to them, they receive it, they don't want it, but you also put a label in there, which might be extremely difficult because you're not currently tied in to the system in the country in which they are living to say, well, I can get a label printed up and stick that in the box and have it returned. Right? So there are alternatives to that. The alternatives is you go on the website, they offer a return process on your website where they can actually go to your website. Then you can establish a relationship with an international firm, a shipping agency or post office, UPS, FedEx, for returning the package to, let's say, one of these forward addresses in Miami. I know there are a bunch of these that cater to the Caribbean, and you have your product returned to those people, and then it gets forwarded back to you, right? Other option is when we look at Amazon. I know Amazon has this in place where there is a no return refund. It's one of the worst things, but sometimes it turned out to be cheaper. Let's say you ship a $15 item, the cost to ship it was $20. The cost to ship it back to you is now $25. You tell the customer, listen, keep it, and I'll refund you. So you avoid that additional shipping cost and handling fees and all of that stuff to get that product back to you. That answer your question, Moses?
Yes, it does.
Okay. Sound like you have a follow-up though.
I know in the first world, it's like their culture. So they buy something and the return and shipping rate is more flexible than in the Caribbean going outwards or even into Caribbean then. So it's very challenging to have policies that is very similar to US European shipping and return policies.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. And in fact, I was having that very conversation with Melissa this morning, right? Where we tend to copy what we see being delivered in the first world countries and try to paste it into our environment. Philip can tell you, I've been having this conversation with him when it comes to digital transformation, and it does not work. It really doesn't. We can't do that. You have to now look at your circumstances and you have to say, no, I have to write a policy that is in keeping with because it has to be, this is really important, that is in keeping with the laws of your local jurisdiction. You are existing in Jamaica and your return policy is this, because this is where your business is based and it matches what the return policy is in Jamaica. And it's okay for you to say, like Jamaica would say, there's a 14-day return policy. But it's okay for Moses to say, there's a 14-day return policy, but there's a 20% restocking fee. In the United States, yeah, I mean, when it comes to the US and consumerism, right? It's probably the most critical thing in the United States when people comes to testing their freedom. They may not tell you that, they will tell you a speech. But as the Supreme Court did the other day, speech is tied to money. If you want a revolution in this country, take away the people's ability to buy a burger for $1.99. They would go to war. Right? For them, that is speech. So when it comes to them and returns, don't mess with their money when it comes to those kind of things. Those policies can't apply to you. Those policies don't apply. But here, they have to change that now. Macy's, Home Depot, all of these guys are changing their policies. If you do more than, I think it's 20 returns for the year at Home Depot, they tell you no, you can't do any more. you're now cut off. So whatever you buy, or next time you come in to buy, you have to be very, very careful with what you buy. They're monitoring your returns now, but that's not how it started. So don't make that mistake. Let us not make that mistake in the Caribbean and saying all returns are just free, or just bring it back anytime. My jurisdiction says 14 days, I'm following at 14 days, but I'm also putting additional policies in place that says a 20% restocking fee. I think I shared this in my last session where I went to my car wanted a battery. I went to the dealer to pick up a battery. And when I got home, I realized this is not what I wanted. I took it back the very next day. There's a 50% restocking fee. Never used it, still in the box. Just for him to take it, walk it in the back and put it back. 50%. That's a $350 battery. You see what I'm paying now. I have to pay $175 just for him to put it back. You have to protect yourself as well, even as you build a relationship with your consumers. Samantha, hand up.
So I would have developed my own template that I will use to manage my orders, etc. However, we would constantly be bombarded with a number of solutions that are out there. I am sure that there are the persons who may want to hear your comment on this regarding what would you recommend based on what is currently available, whether it should be paid or if it is something that is open source or something that's free that we can actually use to manage logistics and everything.
Oh, you're talking about free tools that you can use to manage your logistics.
It does not necessarily have to be free. Even if we have to pay for it, that's okay.
Okay. And what aspect of the logistics are you looking at?
You would have
from delivery to shipping and all that stuff?
Yes, please.
Oh, wow. So there is ETNIV, which I know you have signed up for. We handle a lot of that stuff from beginning to end, from receiving to actual shipping and delivery, right? There is AccuMarket. The systems are actually called ERP systems. It's one of the things when people build their websites, they do not think about how do we manage all of this other stuff? How do we do supply management, product management? How do we do inventory management? So that all of this stuff is automated. I promise you, I'll send you, I'm not sure, I think I did. There may be a list of them in a document that I sent to Carib Export. If not, I'll recreate that list and I'll send it to you guys again with a bunch of different tools. All right. But these tools they're not necessarily inexpensive. In fact, some of them are very, very expensive. A full implementation of an ERP here in the United States could run you anywhere from $7,000 to about $30,000.
I'm not interested in that at all.
Okay, tell me. Because there's a misunderstanding here. Tell me
No, I was being sarcastic because of the price that you quoted.
Oh, the price. I was wondering if I misunderstood the question.
No, you're on track.
It's very, very expensive. But I'll tell you, let me give you a reference of what this does, right? Cost of businesses that have not automated, because what we call that is automation using these software tools. Businesses that are not automated here in the United States, their failure to automate have been causing them, as a whole, $3 trillion a year. It's huge. It's a big number. So you might look at this as saying, man, that's an expense, that's an expense I cannot afford right now. But if you can, anyone here, if you're running a massive system, I say, find a tool that was in your budget because they're there, might be on the $7,000 level, and implement it. Because what it ends up saving you, and so if we have, I'll give you an example. We have an application within our ERP, right? If you're making condiments and you tell it, okay, I'm buying 100 bottles from Samantha. I'm buying all of my sugar from Layton. I'm buying 100 pounds of sugar from Leighton, 100 bottles from Melissa, 100, whatever, the caps from somebody else, the labels from somebody else. You put that into the system. The system measures the amount of sales that you're having. And it says, okay, from this amount of sugar, this amount of bottles, this amount of stuff, this is typically how long it lasts is company A. This is how much they would have made. And this is when it finished. So it now starts to tell you efficiently how much of this you should actually order when. It takes that object of it out of your hands. And there's accountability along the way. It would alert you, it would alert your suppliers that says, it would alert Leighton and say, Leighton, Samantha's running low on bottles. Maybe you should reach out to her. That's time back to you that you can do what you need to do. This is what automated systems typically do for you. I know that's a sidetrack from what we're talking about with logistics. The logistics parts come in when you look at supply chain management. As you ship stuff out, it counts against your inventory. And you said, all right, so now I had 100 today. I sold 10. I should have 90. You could verify that 90 is back there. As opposed to not knowing, supposed to writing that down in your assume 90 is back there. Did you verify what you received? I'm jumping all over the place because I'm not following my slides right now. But we're going to go through all that, right? But there are systems, and I will get to a list of those systems and I'll send them out to you guys. Let me get my slides going. Sorry. What do you currently use now, Melissa? Because you say you do you currently do shippings, right? Melissa? Hello? All right. How we receive, warehouse, pick, pack, and deliver, handle returns. Are you guys hearing me?
Yes, we are. Thanks.
Okay, good. Thank you for that, Keisha. Melissa, what system are you currently using? Not Melissa, Samantha. What system are you currently using? Hello? All right. So does your logistics plan include a return process? If you're telling me that you're ready to ship in, this has to be part of your process. If you do not have a return process in place, you're not preparing for what is to come. You're not managing your risk well. This is really important. Make sure you have return. So as I said before, fulfillment, logistics fulfillment is actually seal and deal. The entire process is a conversation. Receiving products and components from your suppliers is really important as well, right? So Anyone here who's actually making their own product? What are you making your own product or not? I go back to Melissa, as I told you, Melissa is going to be picking on you today. Who receives products from overseas? All right. As you receive them, regardless in what quantities, you need to go through your receipts, your invoices, and ensure that what you bought and paid for is exactly what you get. How you store them, all right? So we have warehouse in here, but a warehouse could be your store. In fact, if you have yours, it could be your home. You could put aside one corner of your house and you say, that is my warehouse. A room in your store, in your business, this is my warehouse. Your picking and your packing process, as an order comes in, I know I have a plan in place. When a product is this particular size and weight, and the packaging of that product or the product is a particular of certain fragility, this is the box that it goes in. This is the packaging that goes with it. This is the labeling that goes on top of it. This is the delivery process that I'm using, right? Am I putting a message in here as well? Because again, it's an opportunity to communicate. So here we have, this is what Samantha was asking about before. Proper inventory management is mandatory. Separate your inventory based on channel. So what do we mean by that? Let's say you have your online store, but you also have your brick and mortar store. You do not have an integration of both of those inventories. So if somebody walks into your store and they buy product A, if that is the same product that you listed on your website, and somebody goes to your website to buy that same product, they paid for it because your inventory online has not been updated to reflect that sale that just took place of that product that was in your physical store. So at this current state, if you don't have an integrated system where you can monitor both sets of sales and say they're picking from the same inventory, you're going to have to separate them and say, this is online, this is brick and mortar, this product just got sold, my online inventory is not touched by that. But as you may know, that this is almost like a waste, right? Because you're there and products that could have been sold physically in your brick and mortar has not been sold. Have some chat. Yeah, Angela wants to know if there is a return policy that we can share. Yes. Tamara has return and privacy, yes, and shipping policy. Those are things that are absolutely required when you're doing online sales. All right, sorry about that. Automated inventory management with a POS. So it means now whenever something gets sold, it gets taken off of the inventory. You can now go back and check the POS system and see what was sold today. And you can walk back to your inventory and physically check and see, well, if I had 10 bottles of shampoo, 5 got sold today, I should walk back in the back and see that I still have 5 remaining. And if you don't have 5 remaining, whoever is working with you, or whoever is living with you, now have to account for where the others are. Right? ERP has recommended inventory management, point of sales, sales management, purchase management. As I said, I'm going to share a couple of those tools with you once this session is finished. Data analysis and reporting is what's critical, is what directs your logistics decisions and how you allocate your resources. So if you do have online, 2 different channels, online and brick and mortar, you have to monitor those sales. And you say, well, I'm actually having more sales on my online, on my e-commerce store. So I'm going to move more inventory into that inventory management system. Right. I also know that this is why having systems and not just pen and pencil and piece and Excel, having systems in place can also tell you these are the products that are being sold. Again, Melissa, based on the conversation this morning, we're going to go back, right? So over the last couple of years, she's selling a particular product. But she now notices that a different brand is taking lead because she has a system in place that monitors that measures that, analyzes that, and gives her a report. And it may be something that she's pushing. It may be something that you choose to push. The fact is that you now know that I no longer need to buy as much as I used to. We're going to touch more on that in our data analysis session. At the end of the day, my goal with my consumers when they receive my package is still to turn that customer into what we call an evangelist, somebody who's going to talk about not just the product, but the experience they've had buying from me. The product is excellent. I have a great experience with the product, but the process of getting the product as well is excellent. So we have an illustration of how this actually works. You have a delivery from your manufacturer, please. Even if it's a post office, we talk about, you go back to Joanne's experience of her shipping products to the United States. But by the time they get to the recipient, they're missing. Products are stolen, products are damaged, right? The same thing can happen to you. You have a delivery, you go through every aspect of it, especially if you're reselling these products, because you're going to turn right and wrong and try to sell that product. And you may not have realized that the product that you received was actually damaged when you received it. So go through everything. This may take time, but you need it. You need to do these things. Verify what you ordered. Verify with your receipt and your invoice. You choose two warehouses, and I say that warehouse could be a room in your house. It could be a corner of your store. And you say, I'm going to put shampoos over here. And I have an account. I have a system in place to account for how many bottles or cases of shampoos that I have. Right? You have someone verify that they're there. This could not be you. It could be you. Right? But you do a verification of what was warehouse. Sorting and shelving. Right? If anybody who's run a brick and mortar know that your shelves are arranged in a particular way, whether you have your candies and stuff up front, stuff that is easily stolen up front, you sort your stuff properly so that when your order comes in, again, when you look at e-commerce, your store is now open to the world. And what you wish for might be your biggest nightmare if you're not prepared for it. Orders start coming like there is no tomorrow. Do I know exactly where everything is? How do I pick it? How do I pack it? And how we go back to that plan of what goes into what packaging. The post office have different size boxes and bags that I now need to make sure that my product fits into those things and I could ship them as efficiently as possible. But all along the way, you're going to see the most consistent thing in this slide is verification. You need to always verify what you have done. There's an account for everything. Okay, so I just went through that entire thing through this slide, knowing precisely what you have received, knowing precisely when you're receiving it. So you guys have heard the story. I'm an engineer by training, and I've built massive systems here in the United States. When we're receiving a truckload of products, or it could be 10 container loads of products that come in, you cannot show up to my receiving dock unless I know you're coming at least a week in advance, because I need to know exactly where I'm going to put everything. And I need to know my next step in that process. You maybe are running a business that's significantly smaller. But whenever a package is coming, you need to know what I'm going to be there to receive it. So if you can track this, it's important. I just received this box of paper and I'm making cards because I have invitations that I have to do for a particular time, right? Is this an urgent one? Is this something that it needs to be done within the next week? If it isn't, where do I store it? If it's something that I can store elsewhere, can I do that? Do I have a plan in place for those type of things? Knowing precisely how much you're receiving so that you can check it off. Knowing precisely how they will be delivered and how they will be packaged is also important. Have insurance, because if anything gets damaged during the delivery process of your supply, who is covering that? Who is responsible? Is it the shipper or is it you? And even if the shipper is responsible, and you can still get your own insurance because that might be faster than disputing this issue with your supplier. This is what we call theft of property shrinkage. And it's responsible for 50% of loss of all inventory, right? So I always go back to the verification of what you have. It may sound like paranoia. Just do it. You could save yourself 15% loss annually.
Sorry, yeah, but Samantha, this shrinkage and shrinkage as in meaning the physical shrinkage of product?
Oh no, shrinkage is the term we use for when your products get, so like Samantha, you do paper products, you do invitations, you do all of these different type of flyers. Let's say you probably have a team that's working with you at any particular point in time. You ordered 3 cases of a particular quality paper and you have them there. But one of your workers decides when you're not there, they're going to do their own thing on the side and they print up their own flyers for some business that they picked up on the side. That is shrinkage.
Okay.
They actually shrink your inventory without you being receiving payment for it.
Okay.
It happens in, especially in the retail industry, right? You're making whatever it is, man, but your workers are stealing the stuff on the side. And understandably so, like I'm sorry, guys, but sometimes when I look at some of the salaries that people are making in the Caribbean, I said to one of my friends, when they told me what some workers were making in St. Vincent, I said, I would have a police working with me. And every day that person come to work, I check them. And every time they leave it, I'm checking because there's no way you're surviving with that salary. But side story. Examine and verify what you've received. I keep repeating these things because they're important. And for me, I find them very, very important. You should find these things important to you as well. 3 key tools: inventory management, warehouse management, and purchase management. Know what you purchase. Know who you purchased it from. Know what you paid for it. Know how it's coming. When you receive it, I have a system in place where I store it and I know what that inventory is. Start and stop a sales channel. With proper tool mentioned above, you can avoid, well, in terms of if you have an automated system that does all this stuff for you, you can avoid this step. But if you don't, you need to sort based on your channels. Update your inventory on your suppliers. So you know exactly what you're running low on products that you need to resell, or suppliers that you make your products from. If you're making sandals, you're making dresses, do I have enough buckles? Do I have enough buttons? Do I have all that I need to have in order to meet an order? Last mile delivery and the process. This is probably what most people want to hear about because this is the part that's really challenging for them, right? But those other parts help to get this part right. So communicate with your courier. So,
Mr. Williams?
Hi, Donald.
No, I just want to go back quickly to the shrinkage. Right. What about cases of breakage or deterioration of supplies? Those also fall under shrinkage, right?
That is correct.
Okay.
That's correct. And then you have insurance. You typically have insurance to cover that type of stuff, right? So if you have, if I buy insurance to cover shrinkage in terms of deterioration of the product or breakage. If I file for a claim, what my insurance company would typically do is ask for a sample or pictures of the damaged goods. If it's shrinkage by other means of theft, what are you going to send to them? Absolutely nothing. So that case becomes even more challenging for you and your insurance carrier. Right. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Deterioration of the quality of the product. And this is why it's also important for you to verify and constantly check what you have. If I have an expiry date on these things that is coming up soon, this may be a good opportunity for me to put a lot of that stuff on sale. Or bundle it with something else. For most of the businesses, and again, who have currently chosen to do their e-commerce with Ethnic, and I'll say this to any small business in the Caribbean who is currently looking to do the exportation of product, I would always say, start locally. Get it right locally. When you look at a market as massive, and we look at our markets and we constantly look outward and we say, we would like our consumers to come from North America or Europe. When you look at Jamaica, 2-point-something million people. When you look at what the upper 10% of Jamaicans earn, right? It is a huge consumer market. When we look at what the middle 50% of just any of the other Caribbean countries earn, it may seem insignificant, but when we look at what they spend on credit card and overseas companies, it's incredible. The Caribbean population spends a lot of money on online shopping, but that's not at home, not within their own territory, because they are often unaware of what is available. The convenience of jumping online and ordering from a local company isn't there. But it's a massive opportunity for us to conquer first and say, all right, we have that upper 10%, we have the middle 50%, and then we have the diaspora population. Like one of our strategies has always been the diaspora population, right? But it's not the diaspora population shopping to have stuff shipped to the diaspora. It's have the diaspora population buy stuff to ship to their relatives within recipient countries. So Samantha, you do paper, you do these beautiful designs, you do your invitation. My mother's birthday is coming up. If you make yourself available and market to me in the diaspora, rather than me going to a printer pay and getting those done and shipped down, I come to you and I order them online and they get delivered. Just as Leighton was pointing out earlier, when we look at the local products that are being produced in Jamaica, and I'm struggling, Belize or wherever it is, and I'm struggling with my shipping to overseas or international markets, I could still market to the diaspora. I have that diaspora, especially, again, I am visiting Jamaica. I am visiting St. Vincent. I'm visiting Grenada. I can order from you online, sometimes before I get there. And by the time I'm ready to leave and go back, I have everything that I need that I can take back with me. I can also now choose to order for my family or my friends right there on the island. I have friends that I grew up with who still live on the island, who celebrating birthdays. And I don't want to go to Western Union. I want to get something customized from a local person. I could jump online from my local stores, right? That's US dollars being spent in Caribbean economies. The impact is huge, being spent directly into your business. I always like to start. Let's make sure that we can handle local. We got this. We know how to pick, we know how to pack, we know how to deliver, right? We may have, go back to Melissa, you may have a few of these vans in Grenada that you have a relationship with. And you can, after a while, you can say to them, hey, at 4 o'clock, I need you to show up at my place to do a pickup. We have a system in place at NetLib where we allow all these different van drivers to actually sign up, or even private drivers to sign up. And when Melissa has a product that needs to get shipped out, she just says, hey, I have a product that needs to get shipped out. Everybody that's within our system, every driver gets an alert. If they're going in that direction, they swing by her store, they pick it up, they're on the way. The consumer who bought this product also got an alert. Hey, Layton is on his way. He's coming that direction. He's going to drop it off. Here's his car description. Here is the plate number. Here's what he looks like. They show up, they drop it off. The recipient signs for it. Accountability along the way. So communication with your courier is important. Have them in within your system. Have a number. Have something in place where you can say, hey, I have packages that needs to go out. Or I'm going to deliver these packages to you so that you can deliver them. Verify that, okay, yes, an email was sent to driver A, he received it, he's ready, or the post office, or whoever it is. The courier picks it up and verify it, or you drop it off at the courier and verify, and there's a verification process. There has to be checks and balances. I said earlier, what you could get away in the smaller islands like Grenada and St. Vincent, you're not going to be getting away with that in a place like Jamaica and Trinidad. You're not. Make sure you have a verification process in place where somebody signs off on what was picked up or what was delivered. Once that pickup takes place or the drop-off takes place, you communicate with the customer. The package is on the way. It normally takes an hour to get there. If you're doing a system like what Melissa does, it's just communication, maybe a WhatsApp message, right? I like automated. Soon as that package is signed off, or an email or a text gets automatically sent. Nobody forgets to do anything. Your delivery process, right? Do you have an arrangement with your courier? What is the product? What is the quality of the product? Am I dropping this product being delivered at a hotel, to a hotel, for a customer, tourist who is now on the island and who saw my product and I want to make an impression? How is that being done? Are you going to make that delivery yourself? What if you live in Kingston and then this person is in Mobile? Are you going to drive those miles just to make sure that this product gets delivered okay? Or do you have a courier in place who is going to take this package and make an impression with that delivery? Again, remember, this is a process of communication where you're trying to show the customer how you value your product and how you value them. Because at the end of the day, you want this customer to become an evangelist. You want them to continue shopping with you. All right, product gets delivered. Is that the end of it? No, not at all. On your website, make sure you send them this customer, or you generate an email that says, ask them about their experience, ask them to rate the product, ask them to rate your service. They may say no, they may not do it. But if they do, it's a big impact. It's a big statement to you. This person is willing to engage with you beyond the reception of a package. That's a lead. That's a next step taking place already. You're looking for a repeat customer. So this is how an automated system typically works, right? Once a label is, once a order is received and you tell the system to print the label for this order, automatically the courier and the customer will be alerted. It's typically, I don't know how many you guys order on Amazon and these guys now, and once you finish the order, once that label is generated, they tell you your item has been shipped. If you check the tracking number, you will see that, oh, it's still at the, a label has been created, it might just say, or its courier is scheduled to pick up at a certain time. Will be automated. Right? Addressing systems is also important. So I know in places like St. Vincent, where I'm from, and a number of the small Caribbean countries, we don't have proper addressing system. It's Even if you go to places like Jamaica, as big as Jamaica, depending where in Jamaica you end up. They tell you, all right, you see, you go all the way down by that house, the greenhouse on the corner with the big mango tree. You make a left, then you make a right, and you'll find where the person lives. That's our addressing system. It's a challenge, right? So one of the options that Melissa mentioned is where post office drop off their products at a particular place, and then the recipients can go and pick it up. We have employed a system of a system called What Three Words, where the entire country, the entire world as we know it, is divided up into square yards, and each square yard has 3 different words associated with it. So even if you're on the beach, right, once you remain in the same spot and you place an order to us, they come exactly to that spot and deliver to you. Right? So you have to look for systems like those. What 3 Words, I think it's still free. If you have your own website, you could actually implement that into, you could actually integrate it into your website for countries, or even for countries that has a addressing system that want to be very, very precise in the way and the place in which this product is delivered. Like you have Domino's Pizza and those guys in the United States using systems like those, where, all right, I'm in the park, I'm hanging out, I'm just having fun, but I want something delivered in the park. And I can place an order. They know exactly where to find me based on those 3 words. Really cool system. You're doing delivery, which is another beautiful local market for the tourists, the yachts that come to the Caribbean and any one of these islands. These people always need products, always need services. I am covering local. I can handle local deliveries. And the market is there, right? Delivery times is important that you have a strategy for that. Right? So if an order gets placed before 10 a.m., can I do same-day delivery? Again, let me jump back to Melissa, right? You selling your makeup products. Order comes in before 10. I can get to the bus terminal in St. George's and have that delivered same day if you're based in St. George's. All right. Depends on the size of the project, the product, and the size of the order altogether. It may be next day or 2 days. One of the things that I know that we have said to our consumers is that we are not doing the same day and next day shipping for free. If you want it, you're going to have to pay a premium for it. It's a strategy that I think you guys should employ if you're going to offer that type of service. And because we live in the islands, these services are possible. But it's a service I think people should pay for. When we look at what the same day and next day shipping that Amazon offers in the United States has done to our system, it has wreaked havoc on our systems. The amount of people that would have died by delivery people trying to rush to make that delivery within the time frame that was set forth. I mean, accidents. These are things that you do not hear in the news. But people are just rushing to make a delivery. It's not worth it. It's really, really not worth it. Tell me, I get up this morning and I want a pair of shoes. And I insist that that pair of shoes must be delivered today. If that is the case, then I should be made to pay a premium for that pair of shoes, for that delivery service. And the far end of that, if you are going to take longer than a typical 5 to 7 days, because even in the United States, if I order something and I'm not paying for shipping, or even if I'm paying minimal for shipping, I can expect that shipping to last 5 to 7 days. That's normal. That is normal here. It's a matter of communicating with your customers and letting them know this is what it takes. If I'm making custom products, it is going to take this amount of time. That's just what it is. If it's going to take 14 days to get this product to the UK or to the United States or to Canada, I'm going to let you know upfront so that there is no shocker. There's no cart abandonment in the end. When you put the stuff, when you put products in the cart and you get down there and you see it's 14 days and it's $200. Now, I'm communicating that with my consumers upfront. This is going to take 14 days. And here is why. If you're not willing to wait 14 days, it's okay. I still have my local market that I'm covering. But we seem to think because, again, when we look at first world countries, they have set a standard for 2-day shipping. At least that is what is advertised because of Amazon. Outside of Amazon and Walmart, rare. Next day, same day, no, it's rare. 2-day shipping is rare. You're looking at 4 to 5 days. Because there's a process to what goes on there. When you look at the reports on Amazon workers and the effects of this next day and 2-day shipping, it's impactful, it's negative. So I'm not saying you don't do it. I'm saying if you guys are going to do this, you say, all right, let me step back and fully evaluate what is entailed in doing a same-day delivery, a next-day delivery. And I'm going to build them a premium for having that service or product delivered within those two, with the same next or 2-day delivery period. My standard is 5 to 7 days. If it's custom made, it may extend longer than that, and I'm going to communicate that with you, and I'm going to tell you why. There's no free shipping. Don't let anybody fool you about that. Any website that you go to that says shipping is free, there is no free shipping. The cost of shipping is built into the price of the product. So if that's what you're going to do, again, that has to be a strategy as part of your business strategy. I'm going to build the price of shipping into this product, and I'm going to put free shipping on the website. It has to be part of your strategy. Hi, Joanne, go ahead.
One of the things that we were thinking about doing, because the shipping is so expensive, was to raise the price of our product online, so they're more expensive than what we have in our physical shop, and then we could reduce the actual shipping to the customer. What's your feeling on that?
Yeah, I've seen that. It's not a strategy that I like, because what you may have now is a double standard in the pricing, right? You can do that, but it has to be a strategy as well, where I said the product that I'm making available for local customers for pickup from my store are slightly different. Maybe it's packaged slightly different. So it's something that you really have to strategize and say, all right, so for my local store, I might put a red band around the chocolate package. For my international customers, or for the people who want to ship overseas, there was a gold band around it. And there was really no significant difference to the package, to the product. And then you can do it on sizing. I have a very good customer client out of St. Vincent, designer. And when she makes her pieces are very expensive. They're usually only afforded by people who are visiting the islands, so people who have the disposable income. What she has decided to do now is she's going to maintain those products, but she's now going to make the same product out of a different material, so that more people within the local community can afford it. So there's a strategy that you can employ when it comes to those things, but you have to think it through. Yeah, that's how I see it, because I don't want you to be hit with, oh, there's a double standard in pricing, and then people come into your store and they're buying because they think it's cheap, and then they're going to go resell it someplace else to match the prices that you have online. It's a very technical thing. As I said, it's a strategy that you have to build.
Gilbert, can I just jump in on this one? All right, so one thing that you can do as well, You know, so you have your products being sold at regular price in store, and then you can also have your products being sold at regular price locally. But you can also have products set up on your online store. This may be a customization, but you can have products set up on your online store that are only sold and is visible to persons overseas. So for instance, it would use things like IP addresses and so forth to display a particular page to the shopper when they come online to buy, and have those particular products being priced in a different manner, and I guess, this is a strategy that whole strategic conversation and deliberate is very back to the end of the day. If it is that you find that you have to sell at a higher rate to a particular market because of operational expenses, then there are ways to set up a version of your store online that allows only persons from these non-local jurisdictions to see those specific products at that specific price. That's something to consider as well as a variation for you would seek to operate. But we're getting a little bit, complex, more elaborate with your e-commerce setup once you start going in that direction. But that is something that can also be achievable. Back to you.
Yeah, definitely. That's an option. You filter by IP addresses. But again, I am concerned about that overseas person now seeing what's online. And then let's say it's a visitor to your store and they came to your store and they saw your products, they saw the prices. They have moved back overseas or they move overseas and they want to order and they come and like, wow, this price is significantly higher, right? There's always it's always a ticklish thing to deal with. This is why I prefer if you choose to do some sort of thing with your packaging to make your product actually appear differently for local market as opposed to what you've been sold on the international market. Anyone else that has ideas around that I would like to share?
Gilbert?
Hi, Dano.
Yeah, for me, I look at it in a slightly different way. For me, it's well, it boils down to basically your segmentation. Like you have to consider them as basically two segments, right? Two segments of customers, right? So, and thus, since you consider them as two, desperate, two distinct segments, so it will now follow the other elements, of your marketing strategy, including your product and pricing, right? So it's, for me, it's not about changing it, just for it to look different, but you making changes in your product and pricing because you are targeting a different segment of your of your total target market. So that's how I see it, right? So whether the pricing should be higher for the local for the international market versus the local market will boil down on how you see them, how you assess them as a separate segment. And number two, you also have to be you also have to gauge, how much a certain market is willing to pay more for your product, because there's always that level where level of pricing where a certain markets are willing to go to, right? So for me, pricing in itself is a strategy. It's not just all about cost plus margin. It could be a strategy to make it to make your product more aspirational, right? Or it could be a strategy for you to say, you know, more easily enter a certain market that's already occupied by, you know, strong incumbents, so to speak. So that's how I see it. But I don't see anything wrong with and I'm not saying you said that, but for me it's like it's quite normal to have like two separate, you know, price points, despite, you know, the products being, you know, basically the same.
All right, thanks for that point. Lourdes, I'll get to you in a second. Let me just address Donald's point, right? So let's look at it this way. Donald, you and I have just bought same product, right? You just happen to use your phone or your computer to buy it. You are paying $20 for that product. I walk into the store, I'm paying 10. I'm paying 10. You use your phone, you pay 20. I can't imagine you feel good about that. That is the aspect of it that I'm concerned about. But if I do variations for that product, I can tell you, I had a customer from Antigua, client from Antigua. They stay in the United States. She did the same thing with her pepper sauce. And it's a story that I shared in my last VEAP as well. So she makes pepper sauce, and it would just be a simple bottle with a black cap on top of it. And she sold that pepper sauce for $10 a bottle. Right? She changes the cap to a gold cap. Changed this recipe slightly. I wouldn't say it was costing her significantly more to make. Maybe a couple of pennies more, 10 cents, 25 cents more. The cap itself, changing the cap from black to gold, cost more than the ingredients that she put in the pepper sauce. But that cost, the cost of this recipe and the cost of the cap was, let's say, around $1.25. But she was now raising the price for the gold cap pepper sauce, which she said was hotter, was now $18 as opposed to $10. Like variation in the product, nobody felt offended. Nobody felt. She saw two segments of the market, just like you're talking about. One was a wealthier segment, and they didn't feel robbed in any way because they saw themselves as buying something slightly different. That is the challenge of the pricing changes that I'm trying to avoid. I don't want anybody to feel robbed. I don't want anybody to feel as if Joanne's product or Joanne herself is an unfair person. Integrity is important in your business, especially when you're functioning out in the Caribbean. Right? That's what I'm trying to avoid when I said slight variation to packaging could could justify your change in prices. But that's what you're looking for, justification as to why you did it, not just because it's a different market segment, right? Because I would still feel like crap if I'm spending twice as much as you for the same product, even if I have the money to. In fact, I feel as if I'm not shopping there again. That product is actually a cheap product. I'm looking for something much more pricey. That's that I can afford it. Lourdes.
Okay. Just my opinion on the same topic. I hear what you're saying. However, there's a couple things to consider. When you buy online, you're also paying for the convenience of not having to go to the store to pick it up. So you're paying, you can justify the higher price because instead of putting it in a plastic bag or a paper bag, when you buy at the store, it has to be boxed in a box for shipping. You have packing in there so it doesn't break. So you're paying for packaging, additional packaging. And so the higher price can justify additional packaging and convenience because it takes time, labor cost, more to package it off for shipping than to put it in a bag at the cashier and give it to the customer.
So those are things to consider.
Good point.
Second, on the other point that you made, that a slight variation, that's more costly to the manufacturer to do slight variations, because you normally would do things in batches. So if you have to do a separate batch just to sell online and use a different cup, and then you change the recipe, your customer might say, this doesn't taste the same as the one that I bought at the store. It's not the same thing. Maybe they might not like the change. You might think it's a better flavor or a different flavor, but then if it's a different flavor, it's not the same thing that they were expecting to receive. So I don't go for changing the flavor unless you specify that it is a different flavor. And maybe that's not what they're wanting. Maybe they're wanting the same thing that they are accustomed to. And then the inventory management gets more complex, because then you have to make sure you don't sell the one that you have prepared for online to the customer that's walking in. What if you're running low and then you have the product in the store, you would like to sell it, but guess what? This one is bottled and packaged for online sales. You've invested more in it, but in the store you have for the walk-in, you have to sell it for the same price. So just things that I think that need to be considered as well. Remember, people buy online for convenience. Other than that, they can go down to the supermarket and get it. In relation to the diaspora that would buy online, well, for them to come into the store and buy, it's going to be much more costly, because they would have to travel to Jamaica or Trinidad or wherever and to buy the authentic product at the store. So they recognize that they're going to pay more online than buying it in the store. Just my view.
Good points. All good points, right? But let's step back one. What I did say, well, you have two different market segments, all right? What you're doing is you're separating based on the market segment, not based on your product. Your products are often based on the market that you see. So if I create a product for a market, that's just another market segment that I'm meeting with a variation of the product. The product might just be hotter, but it's not designed for the market. Okay, so let's step back, because again, this is running further than the scope of logistics, right? What we're talking about here is how do we justify pricing based on two different market segments? Your point on the convenience is well taken, but that's often why people pay for shipping. Right? That shipping cost is what is justifiable. But if we're just looking at it on a product by product level, when I'm looking at the basic product outside of shipping, and that basic product outside of shipping is significantly higher than the other, then I feel it's not justified as a consumer. When we look at distinguishing product based on packaging, again, I have a different market segment that I am serving. So my change in packaging, this happens all the time. If you go to the supermarket and it could just be a change in the size. That's it. There's a variation in the size, not necessarily in the recipe. And when I gave you the price of $1.25, I wasn't talking about $1.25 for the entire batch. I'm talking about $1.20, because at the end of the day, you have to break down that cost per bottle. So the cost and changes cost $1.25 per bottle, but she was able to increase the price of that bottle to $18 from $10. So the batches, so the production is covered, because I'm now able to break that down to specific per product costs. Right? It wasn't like $1.25 across the board. Somebody else had their hand up a while ago. What was it? Okay, took it down. Lourdes, are you still commenting, or you want me to take your hand up? Okay, cool.
Yeah. Hi, Gilbert. It was me, Julia Dean, that had my hand up,
Yes,
but
Julia,
I had
you
lured
did,
it.
yes.
I had lured it in that a lot of the points that I would have made were actually being shared, because I agree with both positions, yours along with the clients here, because yes, as a manufacturer, you have the flexibility to set different prices for the same product in the local market compared to the foreign market. And that's usually through the pricing strategy or the price differentiation or discrimination. But you have so many different factors that you consider. So it's an assessment that you have to go through, like your market conditions, you know, such as your demand and your competition and the consumer purchasing power. And then the economic factors like your exchange rates and inflations and stuff, the distribution costs, tariffs and taxes that would be applied to those going in the foreign market compared to. So there's so many different things. And then one key factor too is like the perceived value. Because like you use the example of Jamaicans and you know that when you're overseas and you want that product so bad. In Jamaica, people may love it, yeah, but when I'm in a foreign country and I can't get it, the perceived value is even more because my desire for it may be more because it's not as easily accessible. So sometimes you wouldn't mind, you know, paying a bit more. And it is sometimes expected, but you just have to be careful how you couch it to the customers, your segments, because consumer perception when it comes to different prices for the same product can lead to some level of dissatisfaction, especially if it's perceived as unfair. So clear communication sometimes can start to allay some of those concerns or the negative perception. And as I said, it's expected that sometimes that will be the case because there's so many different factors going into play when you're exporting the product versus when it can be. And a lot of points were made, you know, packaging, and you can put it in a plastic bag and go away. Whereas if you're shipping, you gotta go in a bubble wrap and box, and you gotta pay the transportation, all those different things. So it's one of those ticklish things that, you know, you have to assess properly to make sure that you don't have a negative effect with the consumer.
Precisely. And that's how I started out. It cannot be something that you just at the whims decide to do. It has to be a strategy behind it. Strategy, planning, implementation. Nadia.
Hi. Just listening very intently to what's being said. My take on this, because I have a shop, and I do have customers buying online, they often leave the shop and then probably purchase online. And I'm very skeptical about having a higher price online than I do in the shop, especially as you said, I have to add on shipping, like the customer will have to add on shipping onto that. So this is an interesting topic for me because I would have never thought of making my product higher on my online shop. I think different markets can withstand different values. So let's say a market in maybe Canada might withstand a price that's a little higher than something that I can sell in the Caribbean. But generally speaking, I try to keep all my prices the same with just maybe a couple of dollars in between, if that makes sense.
It does. It does 100%. Right. I get you. It's the same point that I think Julia is making as well. You have to be very, very careful about it. But one of the other points I think we skipped over that was being made is by Joanne is when you raise the price of the product, it almost justifies the cost of shipping. Like if I'm buying a $20 item and then shipping is $10, like man, is it really worth it? But if I raise that product to whatever, like a higher amount, then that shipping cost almost aligns. Right, so we have to also consider that point that you're making. Hi, Pierre.
Yeah, with the shipping and the pricing, I got your last point with the product. If the product is $10 and the shipping is 25, you might want to look at increasing the price of the product. But you'll need to know that beforehand so that you could have that standardized on your website. Also, with shipping, in terms of packaging and bubble wrap, there's something called handling. So you can incorporate a handling charge so that the customers will know if I'm ordering this online, there's shipping and handling that should cover the cost of your handling. And if you want to offer free shipping isn't really free shipping because it's incorporated into the product. So you can increase the price of the product, but also offer free shipping so that the customer don't feel so bad paying for the product, I guess. I don't know how that could be manipulated. What do you think?
Yeah, that is another great strategy, right? A lot of people, rather than putting on the shipping, and that shipping and handling used to be a separate figure. When e-commerce started taking off here, handling was clearly outlined in your invoice and your checkout process. There is a handling fee. I remember when we started, we had a handling fee of X amount. But then that began, consumers frowned on that. And then you have to remove it and vary it into the price of the product or into the shipping cost. When it comes to consumer behaviors around purchasing, it's a very, very thin line, right? You really have to examine what are the market trends, what is the market and the trends within that particular market amongst that demographic. What is happening? And yeah, that handling fee was frowned on. It was acceptable for a number of years and then no longer. Customers would just abandon their cart because of the additional handling fee. So yeah, so bearing the price in the shipping is never free. We said that shipping, there's no free shipping. It's always buried in something. If you're doing customer pickup windows, all right, so you know, regardless to what your store is. Let's say you're doing customer pickup windows. You're gonna go back to Melissa because there's Melissa's day, and you don't want to go to the bus terminal to drop off the package. You're doing windows. Do you have a schedule? What are my windows? If an order is placed between, this is a conversation I'm having with one of the clients in Barbados now. If an order is placed before 10 a.m. in the morning, then you can pick up between 4 and 6 in the afternoon. If an order is placed between 12 and 4 in the afternoon, then you can pick up by 10 a.m. in the morning, between 10 and 12 in the morning. Things like that you have to consider if you're doing pickup. And customers are quite often happy to come and pick up. It's convenient for them. They might just be in the area, right? So that covers last mile delivery. Unless there are any other questions about last mile. Consolidation points is a big thing now, just like the post office is doing, where they will, rather than, if I have a local order, if I'm in let's say my store is in Kingston and I have a significant amount of deliveries in Montego Bay, I would make an arrangement with someone in Montego Bay where I can ship everything to that location, and the consumers who would have bought them will know they'll be directed to that location to pick up. Important thing again, as always, is accountability. Can we verify the consumer? Leighton has to show up well, not even an ID. What we do, we generate a QR code that comes directly from our site, because you can fake an ID as well. But that QR code that comes from our website is unique and would have gone to Leighton's phone, because that's the number that he has registered or the email that he has registered with us. And when you go to pick it up, that drop at that consolidation point, they scan that QR code and say, yeah, this is the consumer that's responsible for this, for picking up this product. Return process. Critical. This is a big part of the communications. And dissatisfy you, even if you have a consumer that is dissatisfied with the product, and they say, "Oh, I'm not satisfied." Go back to what Moses asked: is there a system in place? I would say create a web page where a customer can come back to you and say, even part of the checkout process, or after the checkout process, when they get that receipt, within that email that says, if you wish to return, there's a link below, you click on it. It's a confidence builder, right? People are so confident when they know right up front, there's a system. I can return this product if I'm not satisfied. This seller is so confident in who they are and this product, they're willing to accept these returns. Immediately, trust factor is being built. Communication is taking place with these consumers. Just by you saying return policy, shipping policy, somebody mentioned it in the chat a while ago. Have all those policies in place. Consumers become more confident. I went to my dealer. I didn't know that there was a 50% restocking fee. And when I got back then, that 50% restocking fee is there. I am not doing business with them again. I am not. That's not what you want to hear. You want to hear your consumer say, yeah, I'm going back. I'm satisfied. I'm so satisfied with the fact that there's a return policy in place and these people are so confident, even when I got the product. And we're going to go through this and I'm going to show you different tips. So you communicate with that customer. You're dissatisfied. Let's set up a return process. You communicate with the courier, whether that is, how does this package get back to me, to the seller? I set up something with the courier. That van that Melissa used to take it to the consumer might be the same one that I communicate and say, hey, stop by this person, pick up back that package and get it back to me, please. It may be with the post office, where your local post office right now set up a label system where I have a return. No, I never put return labels in the packages. I think that's too much of an easy trigger to say, send it back. I would let you know that there's a return process on our website. But if you put that label on, it's a matter of them taking that label out, slapping it on the box. Me, on the other hand, as the seller, I have no idea what's happening. I'm in the dark. I don't know that you were dissatisfied and you just slap that label back on. And that there's a return heading to me that I was not aware of. Now, do not put a return label in that box. Let's have that label, let's have that process started and ending on my website. I get to communicate with that customer, that consumer, all the way. So the courier picks up the package, returns it to you. You refund the money. You verify what you got back from. Well, there's verification that's supposed to come before refunding that money. The consumer market out here is crazy when it comes to returns. You have people who would go down to Target or any of the box stores. You have a blender, it's not working. Go to the store, buy a new one, bring it home, swap it out, put the one that's not working back in the box, ship it back. Return it. I don't want it. No questions asked. You, on the other hand, if you're doing this, you cannot afford that. You have to verify what you're getting back. Like for us, we ask for a number of things when you're online with us. If you can give us a serial number of the product that you sold, great. Because when there's a return, you can check that and say, well, here's what we sold you. Like I can't buy a product from Apple, right? And then show up the next day and tell them I'm returning an old laptop. And no, man, they have all of that information tracked. They know exactly what serial number of the laptop they sold me, or the watch, or the phone. I'm not showing up with no old phone and tell them, hey, nah, ain't working. I know it's work. I know sometimes it's not worth it, right? Go that deep. But if you can, make sure you have that information verified. Even for, again, Melissa, she shipped out lipstick. It is being returned. When you return it, products like yours that somebody may have pride, you can't do anything with it. You literally cannot resell those lipsticks if somebody would have opened that lipstick package and tell you that I don't like it. What are you going to do with it? Resell it? No, it's unethical. It's unhealthy. So you have to look at what that process is like for you. What do? Do I tell them to just keep that product and I will refund you? And then you're now operating on goodwill and good name. If it's something that could be returned to inventory, if it's something that you can now bring back in and now resell at a discount to somebody who's willing to take it off of you. You have to calculate for these things, right? One of the things that I say, let me see if I have it on the next slide, is if the package is returned to me, customer is dissatisfied, typically what we do is send you an email and we apologize for your experience. Because again, we sell an experience, and I apologize for the experience that you just had. And I'm offering you a discount on your next order. Because I don't want you to go anyway. The experience you had with the product may not have been good. But the experience that you've had with us as a company, as a brand, was excellent. Which means you can be our customer still. Up here we say avoid returns. Returns are expensive. Could lead to chargebacks, could lead to you not being allowed to accept payments on your site, and could lead to you losing your business. To satisfy your customer, deliver what they ordered. Keep your customer engagement channels open and communicate. All right. So for the people that have signed up with it, if you saw the email that I sent to you guys, it is important that your product description and the product images match exactly what you're selling. Well, Melissa gave you the horror story with that, right? So she did not read properly exactly what she was selling, sold one when it was supposed to be a bundle. And this person is all the way in wherever they are. Now you have to account for that. You have to pay for that. So you have to communicate precisely. As much images, for me, I say there are never too many images, all right? Great images, people interacting with the product. Product description has to be spot on. So that when I buy it, what I see is what I get. When I return things to Amazon, it's usually because the description of how it works, how it functions, don't match up with what I receive. So I gotta go back because I was expecting certain properties to this product and they're not there. It has to go back. And that is easily fixed by writing proper description and posting proper images. The other part, some customers will never be satisfied. Put policies in place to safeguard yourself. Limit the amount of returns you allow. So you can do that as well. Although the jurisdictions say there's a 14-day return policy, I can say to my consumers, if you're returning over 5 products a year, you'll not be allowed to return anything. Make sure it's stated on your website and visible in your return policy. Keep records of all your communications when possible. This is why I prefer if you have those conversations that you have with your consumers and customers take place via email. There's a trail that you can now send to the bank, that you now send to the credit card company. There's a trail of communications. Most companies, when you call them here, the customer service, tell them the call is being recorded, just in case. So you put policies in place. This is policymakers in terms of legal policymakers, and we need to advocate for these kind of things. Make sure that there are policies in place to protect both the business and the consumers. Implement a return logistics process like we just outlined in the previous slide, where you are able to track that entire return all the way back. Melissa, I'll come to you in a second. I know you had your hand up. Set up an online return process for your customer. Verify your returns, update your inventory, create a separate entry for those items returned. Refund promptly, communicate with your customers, make them an offer for their next order. Even if they've had a bad experience with your product, do not let them have a bad experience with your brand, with your company. Two different things. Remember what you're building a brand, right? You're building your brand so that in case you have to change products later on in the future, you are known for that company, that brand, to serve their consumers well. Logistics outsource. Oh no, let's go to Melissa. Melissa, are you there?
Yes,
Go ahead. I see you had your hand up.
yes, I am. I was asking the question, at whose expense should be the returns in terms of shipping costs when a product is returned, and how should it be stated in your policy, your return policy?
It's typically your expense as the business. Your customer is dissatisfied with what they've received. For whatever reason, they're dissatisfied. It's a cost that you typically eat as a business. Right? This is why you want them as much as possible. You want them to come back and buy more products. This is why when you're setting up your online stores, your e-commerce stores, there are insurance companies that cover that type of stuff as well. I think the last one I had a conversation was one out of Trinidad, and they typically cover, I can't remember, honestly, I cannot remember the name of it, I'll share it right now. They typically cover e-commerce transactions. They're online, there are tons of them in the United States as well that would cover those type of things. So damages, returns, they cover, the insurance companies would cover those.
Okay, I would have to explore if there are any locally, but because it's the whole e-commerce idea is pretty new to the Caribbean region still. But from my experience in purchasing I purchased wholesale from a company for another brand of cosmetics that I sell. And they told me that I think there was something that I think was damaged. They told me the expense of shipping it back would be mine.
You are the consumer.
Yes.
You are the consumer. You bought a product from them that
yes,
you were dissatisfied with and you wanted to return it, and they tell you the expense would be yours?
In terms of shipping it back.
In terms of shipping it back?
Yes.
No, typically good customer relations. That's why I said typically, right? This is not, they could tell you that. But then you now have the options to go and leave them a really bad review.
That's true.
That tends to be more damaging than the cost of that, because you could cost them a number of consumers.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah, but you can absolutely explore that.
It was another Caribbean company. And I know in the Caribbean, somehow we're not as, we don't operate like in the US where these are, covered with insurance.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, and the cost to ship back is also expensive. So I guess that's why it's a deterrent to avoid having return, because once we in the Caribbean know that you could return it and it would be at the company's expense, I think we will bring in a culture where we probably would just, be liberal in how we handle these transactions, and probably just want to return every time, maybe as how the US people do it. So I guess this was probably a deterrent from that sort of culture breeding.
Okay, so let's explore that, right? So you guys are here, you guys all shop. And how many times have you gone into a store and you're dissatisfied with what you walked out with? You got home and it's, it's not that. It's just not what I really wanted. I just don't want it anymore. How many of you actually pack that stuff up and take it back to the store right within the same country? How many of us? I don't want it anymore, because in America, that's a typical, I do not want it anymore. I got it. And I reach home, I realize, man, this thing had an impact on my bank account that I really was not expecting. I have no money, I can't buy milk. Now I have to return this thing.
Gilbert,
how many of us would just pick it up and return it?
Gilbert, it is a conscience thing here in the Caribbean.
Culture.
Conscience. Your conscience would not allow you to do it in most cases as a consumer, because it is just that you have a change of heart or change of mind, but not that anything particular is wrong with the product. But in the States and so on, that culture is different. So you put on a dress to wear somewhere, an outfit, and you're just not feeling it anymore. I just don't care for it anymore. Nothing is wrong with it, but you return it because the policies are there readily available for you to take advantage. But in the Caribbean, it's different.
Correct. And this is why I said, right? So what Melissa was saying is, Like I find that whole idea that you got a product that was bad and you wanted to return it and you're telling me I got to ship it back. Nah, that's a leap. That's a huge, huge mountain you're asking me to climb. And I am not climbing that for you. I'd rather give you a terrible review.
Exactly. And that is because
I'd rather give you a
most
terrible. I'm
likely,
not making that leap. No. But
most likely because it is the Caribbean, because I had put that in there in the chat. My thoughts with respect to the bad review, it is best as a manufacturer to take on the cost and satisfy the situation rather than have the customer place bad
exactly.
reviews on your page to seek to damage your reputation, because then you have a lot more work to do to try to repair that kind of situation. But it's different. It's a different business culture and culture generally. So you find that we haven't gotten to that stage yet, where we can compare to the US and other larger destinations, markets.
Me as a business person, I would not be reluctant to put that return policy on my website because I know the conscience of my people. I know Caribbean people typically do not return products. So me putting it out there, it doesn't, and for on a larger scale, it does not encourage the return of products. It really doesn't. It's just saying it's confidence that if just in case anything is wrong with it, it's not going to encourage, I just going to return it really nearly because I don't like it anymore. So I'm going to be confident. And I know that confidence is going to help to drive the sales on my website. I put it out there. All right. This is something that 3PL services is big on our roadmap. Just hired someone to to actually get this done for us. This is where we service the international market. So you will ship your stuff to a warehouse. From our perspective, you ship all of that stuff to the warehouse, and then most of those warehouses are in Miami. They're relatively cheap now because during COVID, so many of these warehouses and systems were created for the distribution of vaccines. And now that COVID is gone, a lot of these places are sitting dormant, empty. So they're relatively cheap these days in order to get them going. So you ship whether it's a crate, and this is our sticking point right now. We're trying to gather information. They want information on how much of what product would we typically receive in a period of time. So you ship your products there with that inventory, same inventory that you upload to your website. And whenever an order comes in, if that order is supposed to be delivered anyway within the global north, they will go to your crate, take the stuff, pack the stuff, and ship it out. They would label it and everything. They would even put a return process in place, which could be triggered from your website. And then that product gets shipped back to them if it has to be returned. From there, anything can happen. I know Leighton talks about drop shipment, where you actually listing products on your website, but they're not within your immediate vicinity or warehouse. So when any order comes in, it's shipped directly from manufacturer or your reseller or your distributor. If there's a return, it gets returned to that distributor, manufacturer, or reseller. Right, so that makes that portion of the logistics relatively easy. But if you choose to go with any of these options, make sure you get a detailed, not necessarily a service level agreement. All right. What are they responsible for? What are you responsible for? It has to be detailed because you do not want any ad hoc and unplanned for costs hitting you because you did not have a service level agreement in place. Like for instance, if on your website you're telling someone it's a 2-day shipping, a 3-day shipping, a 5-day shipping, but your 3PL service or your drop shipment are taking longer than that. And when the product finally gets to the consumer just turns right around and returns it. Who covers that cost? It has to be a logistics partner, but that has to be written and signed off on. What if there's damage along the way? Who covers that? If I can verify that all the products that I shipped you were received in good order, then anything that gets delivered after that has to be on this company. So you have to make sure you get all of that in writing. Again, some of the things that I say, they seem very, very simple, but having those contracts in place in a manner that you can pull up and point to is important. It can save you a bundle of money. You still need an inventory management. Typically, these companies, they provide you with that inventory management. They provide you what we call an application programming interface that you can program into your website so that you're aware of what inventory they have. When an order comes in, it triggers a process directly to them and they can package that stuff and deliver it. Right? You would be aware of all of that. You use the data, you still need data analysis and reporting to direct your next step. So based on those sales, this is an automated system that you would not have been able to put in place, but they now add a key element, which is the inventory management and logistics. All right. This costs they're about a year, 2 years old, but this is typically what 3PL services would cost for them to receive. So like say you ship a crate to the warehouse, wherever that warehouse is, typically the easiest transshipment points to the Caribbean, and from the Caribbean is Miami, it's Florida, sorry. So they charge you like a $25 an hour for the first 2 hours of actually receiving the stuff. All right, so that's receiving it, inventorying it, and then they'll start your storage fee, $40. And as I said, this is a bit older. I can imagine they're significantly higher now. And they were $40 per pallet per month storage. If it's just a shelf space, depends on the size of the shelf space, it's $10 per shelf, $5 per bin. The pick and pack process is included in the cost. Standard packaging, plain box, tape, whatever filler has to go in that box, packing material, shipping label based on your destination weight. And because they would incorporate into their services UPS, FedEx, USPS, DHL, all of that stuff. They would have incorporated into the system. And typically the consumers who pays for shipping. This is what it cost a few years ago. I have not checked to see what it actually costs now. Okay, so that's the end of logistics. I think for me, the big thing here is always do not undervalue your local deliveries. I know we are eager to get our products out into first world countries, right? And build a strong consumer base within that space. Build a strong consumer base in the global north. But I say we exercise, we utilize, and we capitalize on our local market as much as possible. Make sure we got shipping done back. Make sure we have our return processes. Make sure we have our customer relations. Because again, and the other side, the flip side of that, Caribbean customers are some of the hardest to please. I remember when we were building some of our platforms, or even building our platforms for other consumers. The concern is, when do we go to market with this product? Because we know in the Caribbean, if we don't get to that market correct, or the opinions, the thoughts, the ideas, and the fact that they're just not doing business with you because there's something on your site is just like not what they used to. I remember, and I don't know if you know about this, when they started doing football to start streaming the football games in Jamaica, and the amount of cameras that they would now have installed to broadcast these football games out in the stadium, right? They were going to where they were not streaming any games, to where they were actually streaming games. That was the complaint is, this is not as good as what we see when we're watching the EPL. People were actually upset that there was progress and that the progress wasn't to the extent of what is done in the first world countries. That's serving consumers for you, man. We are tough bunch to please. And just imagine you appealing to that consumer market in the diaspora or on an international market, and then you have to ship that product overseas and then have to deal with that. Like, nah, man.
Just to jump in here as well, Gilbert, you know, the area is a very valid point. As simple as it may seem, it's a challenge that us small islanders have as business persons where, and I learned this from my business partner years ago, that, you know, Jamaican people, Caribbean people, don't like to do business with you if you don't seem like you're doing it big. Even if something small, it have to look like this big grand thing, you know. And I find that it's the same with online business, where people are not quick to shop with you if it doesn't seem like it's big thing, you know, like everybody can start big, you know. Doesn't make any sense. But what I say about it is this: if you find your target market, if you're able to segment your market well to identify exactly who needs your product, it does not matter how you look. You have some big restaurants here in Jamaica and across the Caribbean, you know, and then I have some little ghetto food shop who have a very strong customer base, and they're not trying to look big. They're not trying to position themselves as big. They're just trying to serve the market that connects with their particular need, you know. And I find that at the end of the day, that's really the main thing that you need to do. You know, we oftentimes want to attract customers beyond our immediate reach before actually servicing the people around us, which is why we have to look like it's a big grand thing, you know, because we're attracting strangers. And one of the things that we have to be mindful of as e-commerce businesses, or businesses who are leveraging e-commerce, is that if you are running a business already, it means you already have a customer base. Start there. A lot of my customers are, I'm working on a proposal today for submission, and I find that the customer is failing mainly because they are going after persons who are not within their primary market segment. So they have stores that are doing well, but online is doing poorly. When you look at it, online is not targeting the same people who the stores are targeting. So how do you expect to excel? Instead, in my proposal, I am encouraging them to leverage the store. Leverage the store as an asset for building your credibility to get persons to buy online. At the end of the day, guys, no matter how hard you sell, no matter how well you craft your message, no matter how deliberate you are in market segmentation, people will not buy from you online if they don't trust you. Use your store locations to build trust. Use your online presence to expand the customer lifetime and value of your customer through online engagements. You understand? So people come into store, start introducing your website from then. Put on shelf talkers on your shelf. Put up branding in your windows with QR codes for people to scan. You understand? Put even on, if you're able to even put a QR code on a tag, a label. Yes, this price is there, but you can also see the price online as well. You understand? These are ways of introducing your digital assets, your websites, to your customers at the point where they're building trust. Then it seems as if, but to them, if when you start doing that, what you will be doing is showing them that, hey, shop online, shop in store, it doesn't matter. Experience is the same. Use your online, your physical presence to build trust. People will not buy from you offline, if they don't trust you. Especially those brands who sell products to tourists and diaspora clients. When your diaspora clients or tourists walk into your store, especially tourists, oftentimes your transactions are going to be a one-off transaction if you don't get that. If that person does not come back to the country or is not visiting regularly, use your website, your digital presence to expand the lifetime, get them to buy more. How do you get them to buy more? Start getting them to trust you from the moment they start interacting with you in person. This is why B2B sales work best when they're face-to-face meetings, because it is used to build trust. Is a reason why when if somebody is, I always like to use the example of relationships, If I meet somebody in person, it's different from if I meet somebody online. There's great apprehension to this person who they are online versus if I meet this person in person. Yes, I'm gonna want to know who you are beyond this experience. But at least I can know that yes, I looked into this person's face and they are of really brown complexion and they really have they're really tall or they're short or I'm able to quantify what I'm seeing. Don't underestimate the power, guys, of your physical locations in supporting your online sales. Everything comes back down to strategy. You must know the purpose your website serves in contributing to your online sales. It needs to be a part of a strategy. And my recommendation is to use your online, your offline resources to establish trust through in-person interactions and use your online websites to expand, extend the lifetime and lifetime value of your customers, especially for those who are operating in the tourism and diaspora space. Gilbert, back to you.
Yeah, very good, Leighton. And it's like we have, for me, I've done work in terms of city designs, city of the future, that type of stuff. And it's one of the things that has shaped my vision when it comes to Caribbean businesses and how what it ties into very much what Leighton has just said, right? Your storefront. When somebody walks into your space, at this current point in time, and where we are with technology, that space should not be a very expensive space. It should also not be a very big space. We have very limited stock in that space because we do not want to be paying these high retail rent prices. The smallest space as possible that is constantly communicating with the consumer that has just walked in. If I'm making t-shirts, I may have 5 pieces of each that I make in that store. If you want it here, you pay this price, right? You pay, because again, I'm looking at the fact that I'm now saving on rent because I have a smaller space. If you want this t-shirt, it's $15 because you're paying for the rent. It's a reverse of what we spoke about earlier. You're paying $15 for this t-shirt, but I can have it delivered to your house by tomorrow for $12. Because my warehouse is in a space where it's significantly cheaper for me to operate. Or you come in, so there's a premium for you to actually buy it in the store as opposed to you ordering it online. I want to drive my business online because it's significantly more efficient. I have this online business tied into all of my social media. I'm also catering for, as Leighton said earlier, the tourists, the people visiting, the expats. They come into the store, they're used to a certain service, and you're just running around. And if my store is open late at night, you don't want to walk the package, you stop by, you see it, you come in, I'm going to a restaurant, I'm going to a movie. I could come in, I can order it, pay for it, and it's delivered to me next day. The options, the ideas that you guys can play with when it comes to these things. Tremendous amount of ideas. We don't always have to look at what's taking place in first world countries and try to copy it and paste it into our, as Julia has been preaching all evening, culture. We're slightly different. And there's value in those differences. There's value in our culture. So how do we capitalize on those? Don't just copy and paste ideas and solutions. Make them work for you. The other big takeaway from that is even if you're making those deliveries to start local, it does not limit your market reach. I'm a busy professional. I live on the Northeast, which means I have access to shipping. I have access to a ton of stores. What I don't have is time. For me to get up and go to DJs or one of these places and then go pack a barrel for my mother and send all these things down, stuff. I'd much rather log on to one of you guys' websites, wherever you are, buy from you, have that money deposited to you, and you deliver the products to me. So even if you're touching local delivery, it does not limit your market reach. Or if I'm visiting and I want stuff to take back with me, I can order from you and you could package them and I could just come pick them up. I'm ready to go. We have to make these solutions work for us. We have the quality. You guys know I've been preaching that from day one. I believe what is being produced in the Caribbean is of substantial value. I really am committed. I'm invested to the tunes of millions of dollars and believing what is being produced in the Caribbean is of significant value and people want it. All right. We are at the 3 o'clock hour for me, 4 o'clock for you guys. Any questions, any comments, any clarifications needed? I know I was supposed to touch on operations and I didn't. There's a whole lot of sections on how do you do operations. Any questions, any comments? All right. I see Moses saying Canva.com is useful for creating QR codes. Yes, as long as those QR codes are very unique to you and the business and your consumers, yeah. All right. Guys, look forward to seeing you guys next week again. Thanks for being here. I know this is time consuming. I'm hoping and I'm praying that the value that what we Leighton and I deliver on a weekly basis is of significant value to you guys. All right. Take care. See you next week.